Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms, firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment to like and share this program so that your friends can join in the conversation as it's happening. Also, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. That way you can get the alerts as soon as we go live. So your friends can join in the conversation, and you can join in the conversation once again as it's happening live. Now, I also want to encourage you, please visit fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. Know that there you'll find all kinds of cool coffee mugs, T-shirts, hoodies, you name it, different ways to show your support for the Second Amendment. But not just show it, actually support it, because every dollar that you spend goes right back into our fight for the right to keep and bear arms. So you can support the Second Amendment, and you can look good doing it. It's fpcgear.com. Now, we hear a lot all the time about, the way in which we can stop these shootings and stop gun violence is we need to get guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. Get their hands out of people who are criminals and who are domestic abusers and people who are mentally ill. That's what we need to do. All of these laws that they keep coming up with, these anti-gun laws that they keep coming up with, are supposedly about getting guns out of the hands of individuals who aren't supposed to possess them. The problem is that they don't necessarily do that, right? Matter of fact, they clearly do not do that, especially when such laws are in place, and yet and still those who seek to inflict harm upon society, they're able to do so anyway because, of a failure of government. You guys are familiar with the shooting in Aurora, Illinois, where an individual went and, a disgruntled worker was fired and decided that he was going to open fire on his fellow coworkers. What you may not know is this was an individual who never should have had a gun, according to the anti-gunners, who never should have had a gun in the first place. Here's the story.
Alan, tonight we know the Aurora shooter fell through the cracks of a background check that wasn't deep enough and a system that didn't require enough follow-up. According to new information from state investigators now, that is what appears to have allowed Gary Montez Martin to carry a gun into his termination meeting when he should have surrendered it in 2014. And the I-Team has learned Martin was not alone. There are thousands of people in Illinois who had their FOID gun cards revoked last year alone. The heartache at Henry Pratt Company started in 2014, although nobody knew it. How did Martin get a FOID card then? That is when the valve assembly worker filled out an application for an Illinois firearm owner's identification card, and investigators say lied in his answer to question number 2. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Martin said no, even though he had been convicted of felony aggravated assault in Mississippi with 5 years in prison, released from custody in 1997. But tonight, the state police say their background check did not reveal Martin's Mississippi criminal history, and he bought a gun like this, a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson pistol with a laser sight, the one he used during Friday's factory rampage. Martin's Mississippi felony only surfaced months later in 2014 when he applied for a concealed carry license, and Illinois State Police notified him he would have to surrender his FOID card and his gun. With his FOID card revoked, how did he keep his gun? Tonight, it appears Martin simply ignored a law with no teeth.
Our system of commerce in firearms in the United States is largely based on an honor system.
In Illinois, though, there are no laws requiring officials to actually collect a person's FOID card and guns even after they have been revoked. And Friday's attack in Aurora by a man who kept his card and gun appears to be the latest example of that.
I wouldn't think that the Aurora police thought it necessary to have an organized program to recover every revoked FOID card and seek to recover the handguns. That I don't believe is the Aurora Police's fault. I think this is a much bigger structural issue.
This is how big. Just last year, we have learned Illinois State Police revoked 10,818 FOID cards, and tonight officials admit most are never returned to them as required. When FOID card holders and gun owners ignore revocation notices, local law enforcement may petition a judge to issue a search warrant. But under Illinois law, they don't have to do that. And in the case of Gary Martin, apparently didn't.
So, to make a long story short, laws are already in place. Once again, we're talking about the state of Illinois. Laws were already in place that made it so this individual shouldn't have had a gun. He went through the application process. He lied on the application because, well, that's what criminals do. They lie. Not all the time, but in cases where, they're not going to get something they want, there's a chance that they're going to lie. And so that's what this particular individual did. So he lied on his application, but somehow a felony conviction, by the way, he's had 6 prior arrests, not just this one felony conviction, but somehow he slipped through the cracks. Now, with that, the same individual thought that for some reason he thought that he was going to be able to apply for a concealed carry permit and get it approved. So he attempted to get his concealed carry permit. They discovered all of a sudden, out of nowhere, poof, here's this felony conviction. And they tell him, yeah, no, you're not going to get your concealed carry permit. And now, not only that, we need you to give back the FOID card. So what did that mean? The problem with that was that not only did he not give up the FOID card, but he didn't give up the gun. Nobody made sure that this individual did not still have a firearm. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I'm thinking that if you've discovered, first of all, someone that was actually prohibited from owning a firearm has purchased a firearm. You now know this. This is a person who is a felon, and you didn't think to send anybody to go get his to at least check on him to go get his guns or anything like that. I love how they said in the piece that it was based on an honor system because it's a law with no teeth. Well, I'm sorry. Once again, didn't need to say it again. Convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon. Yet he still possessed. He not only still possessed the FOID card, he still possessed the gun. Now, I wish I could say that this was a minor thing. In fact, they pointed out that just last year alone, over 10,000, almost 11,000 people had their FOID cards revoked. But here's the thing they didn't tell you in the story, that 75% of those people, of those who lost their FOID card, who were told you no longer have a right to own or possess firearms, still had their guns. Know why? Because there's no law in place that would require them to go after those guns. Now, the interesting thing about this is this is oftentimes compared to the APPS or the Armed Prohibited Persons List in the state of California. Now, the sad part about that whole thing is that unfortunately the APPS list in the state of California, well, let's just put it this way. It is less than accurate. We know that it is less than accurate. But at the very least, you can at least say that at least, 75% of the people, or at least most of the people who clearly are not supposed to have guns, or at least legally be able to purchase guns, I feel pretty comfortable in saying that hopefully they don't have firearms. But the point here is this. The point I'm trying to make is this. Is that they keep saying that we need more laws. We need more laws to get guns out of the hands of evil people. Yet here is a case where government failed. Once again, government failed. This was not a we need more gun laws issue. This is the fact where government failed. So now they're looking in Illinois to pass a piece of legislation that will require them to seize the firearms from individuals who've lost their FOID card. Maybe it's just me, but I don't understand why you need a law to do that. I don't think you needed a law before, but now here we are. They're having to pass a law in order to require them to do it. And if they're anything like the state of California, once it becomes a law, they will become completely and utterly inept at it. They will completely not be able to remove firearms from individuals who are not supposed to possess them, right? But that just goes to show that most of these issues, it's not an issue of, well, there's not enough gun laws. It's a matter of implementation and how poorly a job we do at actually implementing those laws. And I give you a great example. Like when the people talk about, they always talk about background checks, right? Well, let's just be clear. Number one, this guy, in order to get his FOID card, went through a background check. Guess what? Once again, his criminal conviction was before he actually got his FOID card. His felony was before he got the FOID card, yet he got the FOID card anyway. And there are tons of mass shooters who did not, who passed a background check. It wouldn't have stopped the Borderline shooting. It wouldn't have stopped the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. It wouldn't have stopped the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival, the Las Vegas shooter, Umpqua Community College, Grand Lafayette Theater, Grand 16 Movie Theater in Lafayette, African Methodist Episcopal Church, Washington Navy Yard, Century 16 Theater in Aurora, Colorado. It wouldn't have stopped the Tree of Life congregation in Pittsburgh. It wouldn't have stopped First Baptist Church in Sutherland, Texas. I mean, none of these shootings, Pulse Nightclub, U.S. military centers, UC Santa Barbara, none of these shootings, none of them would have been stopped by background checks. The problem was, in many cases, you can look back on them, they were failures of government. Failures of government to actually implement law. So it's like saying, okay, well, we're going to give them more stuff that they're not going to implement. More stuff that law-abiding citizens are going to have to try and fight to comply with. In the meantime, criminals are just straight up going to ignore. So look, folks, just to make a long story short with some of my liberal viewers or anti-gun viewers, because I know some of you are out there. I know some of you folks from DOJ are watching. Here's my thing. Focus on implementing the laws that you're already doing a very poor job of implementing. Right? Focus on that. And by the way, I'm not talking about you rank and file folks who are there just doing your jobs on the streets. I hear you. I'm talking about those political appointees who are more focused on some political agenda as opposed to actually keeping people safe. The people who are trying to direct some of these career agents and sending them down rabbit holes that have nothing to do with keeping people safe. You guys need to get out of the way and let people who know and understand what's going on in this country, who knows and understands firearms culture, community. You need to get out of the way, and you need to allow individuals to be able to exercise their right to keep and bear arms. And go after the criminals, and stop making criminals out of law-abiding citizens. And all right, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing these programs so that your friends can know that the Firearms Policy Coalition is the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.